Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of 2022 of the Socially Desi Show. We're going bigger and bolder this year, and boy, do we have a treat for you. Like you all know, we discuss tips and strategies with our guest speakers on how to tackle problems related to personal growth, mental health, relationships, business and entrepreneurship, and health and fitness. So hit that subscribe button and go check out our website at sociallydesi.com for more of such content. What better way to start the new year with goal settings? Goal setting is a basic part of any discipline. In fact, if you're not setting goals and if you aren't meeting them, then you aren't going anywhere in your life. If you're an entrepreneur, freelancer, or a content creator, then that is especially true. To help us with our goal settings for 2022, we have Gaurav Bhagat on our show today. Gaurav is the founder of the Gaurav Bhagat Academy, which is one of India and Asia's largest sales training and business mentorship academy. GBA has trained over 1,000 business owners, corporates, and working professionals in the domains of sales, scaling, and achieving 10x growth, and has delivered astonishing results despite the COVID 19 pandemic. Gaurav has also been the member of CII for over 6 years and has been elected as the state council. Hello, Gaurav. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anurag. It is a pleasure to be here today, and thank you for the honor of having me here to have and be a part of the inaugural show of 2022. So, really looking forward to being here, of course. And this is definitely one topic that is so close to my heart, and it really is an honor and a pleasure both to be here today.
The pleasure is all mine, Gaurav. Thank you so much for doing this with the Socially Desi Show. And in fact, even before we came onto the show, we were discussing about this and we resonated with the same thought that goal setting is one thing that we really need to kick off the new year with. And especially when it comes to the creators, the entrepreneurs, and especially with the whole creator economy now booming in the country, I think this episode will be a great help for everyone listening to us in the new year. So thank you so much, Gaurav. To kickstart this episode, Gaurav, before we talk about the creator economy and the goal settings, I would love to know your professional journey before you started GBA.
Of course. Thank you so much, Anurag. And I started pretty much, as a 16-year-old when it came to entrepreneurship. That's when I started, in a way, as, a creator of at the time it was, board games. And I remember my first board game was at the age of 16. And that's where, my journey really started. And now we're going back to 1992, 93. I was still in school. We had none of the tools and none of the ways and means that you have today. But that's where it all began. And of course, in due course, there was, multiple companies that I've been able to start and create. Today, of course, we're in multiple cities and we have close to 100 people who are part of the team. And
Wow.
we're really going out there and dominating the space in Asia and beyond. So that's really something that I've had that journey myself over now good 22 years, and of course also I've been happy to with the GBA to give back a lot of my learnings and my experiences and all the stuff that I have access to others in the community as well. So I think that really is my driver.
Wonderful. I mean, 20 plus years of experience, a team of over 100 people. I think that's great, Gaurav. What is the USP, if I have to talk about the GBA platform? What sets it apart from the other players out there?
Yeah, super question. I think that's always one question someone should ask before really coming in and committing their time and money into any particular let's just say program, academy, learning, anything of the sort. So we're very, very driven by intention, and I always say, and of course I think this is something that's going to pop up over the course of today as well, is always ask why. Okay. And you should always be very clear about what your why is. Now, I'm very clear in terms of our why is actually a 4090000 number. And people come back and say, okay, GB, what is that really? And I say, we're going to take 100,000 businesses or 100,000 business owners and help them add 100 jobs in their organizations. And an average family has 4 people. So hence you've impacted 4 crore people. And I also work very closely with graduating students and working professionals. And I intend to take 9 lakh of them and help them live what is called the 10x life, which is a life without limitations. So hence, very, very intentionally driven. We're not in this, for the money alone. Fortunately, I run multiple businesses, which help in, creating a very good life for me. But it's my give back. And it truly sets us apart because of the coaches that I have, the content that we're licensed in.
Mhm.
We're the sole Grant Cardone licensee for India. We're the one of three Tiny Habits coaches, and Tiny Habits is a book by BJ Fogg, and we're one of
Mhm.
three licensed coaches in India in Tiny Habits. And of course, we're moving into Disc and a whole bunch of other things. So top quality content, with a very, very driven, like a why. And of
Mhm.
course, in the end is the delivery and the team. So I think it's a combination of all those things. It really sets us apart from it's disruptive in the space of training and coaching. Truly, my belief.
Absolutely. I agree with that, Gaurav. And the numbers that you spoke about, especially you want to impact 4 crore people and then, those many students and help them to build their career, build a life, which is, you have that financial freedom, have that, the work life balance, the way they imagined, right? Because we always read about this on social media, we read about this on books. But the thing is, there has to be some actions done in order to achieve that life. So that's really important. And coming back to today's topic, I want to touch base quickly on the creator economy in India, which is actually being said in a few reports that it's worth $104 billion right now, and it's growing every day. So what are your thoughts when it comes to the creator economy landscape in India?
Of course. So, without a doubt, I think we truly are sitting on the golden age of the creator economy in India, and even across Asia and the rest of the world as well. And I
Mhm.
think more so in India. I mean, in the past, if you look at it, it was the big boys who were dominating a lot of the space. And even if you look at when we look at back office work that was coming
Mm.
India's way, and all of that. So when we had the companies which started with Raman Roy and the BPO space,
Mhm.
eventually leading out, to the Infosys and all the other, software guys and all of that. It was a big boys game, and everyone said, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is something that we can actually go in and join in there and do all of that." But I think what's happened with the last 2 years in particular, with all the tools that have come up. I mean, of course, there have been platforms, such as Fiverr, and there have been,
Mm.
platforms like Upwork, etc.,
Yep.
Freelancer, etc. So we've had the platforms. But I think what really has happened, especially during the time of the pandemic, is that the entire space has just blown up, like blown up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The amount of people that were willing to come in to start of course, learning.
Mhm.
On the flip side, the number of people who were coming in to teach. I mean, just look at platforms, such as look at Thinkific, look at
Mm.
Teachable, look at
Yeah.
Kajabi. I mean, these are names that were not even on the map, and today they're being
Yeah.
sought after and spoken of as the next darlings of the Nasdaq and Wall
Yeah.
Street. So
Yeah.
really, really good to see what's happening. And my belief, Anurag, is it's tip of the iceberg. We're only
Mm.
getting started right now.
Absolutely. And you gave us a few names there. Thinkific, Thinkable. For India, we have Spay, which was acquired by Unacademy. Graphy is there. So a lot of these players are actually building up, and especially in the Indian economy, also we see a lot of creators now getting into their own spaces. They're getting their own websites, their own platforms where they can not just coach, I think, but to also showcase their talent and in turn. Create an income, a financial freedom space for themselves. But all of this, having said that, Gaurav, I think when it comes to going full time as a content creator, or let's say going full time as an entrepreneur, there has to be a strategy in place. There has to be some actionable inputs that you can provide into your business, into your thoughts, that can actually make that particular step happen. And for that, I think it's important to understand goal settings. uh, I would love to know from you, what are the importance of having a proper goal setting strategy in place, especially for content creators.
Of course, Anurag, goes without saying. And I would say, even if we take one step back, I mean, yes,
Hmm.
goal setting is super, but like Simon Sinek says, always start with why. And to your listeners, I'd say that always, always know your why. If you haven't seen that TED talk from Simon Sinek, which dates back to 2009, I think everyone
Hmm.
should see it, because it's very important to know the why. Okay, in terms of why are you doing what you're doing? Why should the world even care? Right,
Yeah.
it all
Yeah.
boils down to why. It all boils down to your purpose, what do you really want, your impact to be, your legacy to be, what do you want to be remembered for. So these are things that are very, very important, of course. And I think once you know your why, then it's very, very important to start on the piece of goal setting. And there are crazy figures out there, right? Believe it or not, 83% of people don't even have goals, right?
Yeah.
And that means, running up and down a field and not having any place to score the ball. I mean, imagine playing the game of soccer or hockey and then having nowhere to go and deploy the ball. I mean, लोग भाग रहे हैं, कर
Yeah.
रहे हैं, मतलब, फिर बोले हमारे लिए जी कुछ हो नहीं रहा, but things aren't
Right.
happening for you because you don't really have a goalpost that you're aiming towards.
True.
And more importantly, the goalpost will always keep moving. So once you hit one, you have to keep, pushing that goalpost, further and further back so that you're basically going out there and doing more and more. So at the outset, I would say that yes, know your why. Second is, of course, have your goals. Now, interestingly, and I've been someone who's been very, very passionate about my goals. I remember the first time I started writing my goals was, again, I was 16, 17. I went to a Archie's gallery in Defense Colony Market in Delhi, and I picked up a book which I called The Diary of Top Secrets, which had a lockable lock, and I started writing my stuff down over there. And over the years, I've been through every possible goal setting system that anyone or everyone has actually gone ahead and created. And it kind of, it really perplexed me in the fact that, it was either, too simple or too complicated. It was either asking for too little or too much. The horizons were all up and down and everything else. And it just, and like I said, I found it, extremely frustrating at times, in terms of how the entire process was done. And then last year during the pandemic, I said, okay, this has to change. So in April 2020, I locked myself in a room one day and I said, what? I need to create the perfect goal setting system. And that's where I came up with the Scaling with GB Goal Planner. So it's a planner that's now available on Flipkart and of course on our sites, and it's going to a lot of corporates around India and the world as well. And that's a goal setting system which has been flawless. And of course, we'll talk more about that in due course as well. But coming back to the entire goal piece, and especially for content creators, I think it's very, very important to have as what you call SMART goals.
Right.
And SMART goals are goals which are very, very specific in terms of where you are today to where you want to go. So let's just say if we take a goal pertaining to our followers, like how many followers do we have in our community at the moment? Where we're looking to head to. So the specificity is very, very important. Even if it's a money thing, what is my revenue today? What should my revenue be in X amount of time? So the specificity is very, very important. It must also be measurable. Like, okay, today, let's say if you have 1,000 and you want to go to 5,000. So 1,000 to 5,000 is measurable. You'll have a matrix.
Yep.
Okay, right now on my YouTube channel, I may have 1,000 people, but I want to go to 5,000. So you have to have that number. It should be something that's attainable. I mean, you can't say, oh, right, right now I have like 1,000, but Bizlarian has 4 million, so I should go to 4 million. It's not going to happen, right? It's a gradual step. I mean, maybe you'll get there at some stage, but it's not going to happen, instantly or, over the course of, 6 months, 12 months. And if you set a goal that's too lofty, then what happens, it'll also start to becoming, maybe a hindrance or discourage you in a way. You start feeling your motivation levels dropping, because I completely believe that motivation is the villain of the piece. Everyone says, boss, motivation honi chahiye, but boss, motivation even differs between morning to evening, right? True. And then once you see results are not coming, your motivation starts crashing. So attainability is very, very important.
Yep.
Relevance, okay, that's the R. And relevance is basically like, is this goal relevant? I mean, in case I increase my following, or in case I increase my revenue, or in case, I increase the amount of content I intend to put out, is it relevant, to my why, to my original purpose, to the goal or the legacy that it really had? So relevance is very, very important. And the T stands for time bound. Like there has to be a time limit. There has to be an expiry date. Right? Because if I say, and this is, of course, the first week of 2022, so what a great time to really be starting on this. But you should have milestones that, okay, by the 15th of June, I want to do this. By the 20th of August, I want to do this. By the 30th of December, I want to do this. Because if you don't have that time element, okay, that is an aspiration. Then it would be, I want to create great content. I want to have a big following. I mean, boss, what's your number and what's the date? So I think these are aspects which are very, very important when it comes to goal setting.
Absolutely. And, you touched base on a very important point there, which is about followers. I think there's a lot of rat race around followers when it comes to content creators, because everybody is getting that FOMO of seeing other content creators having big followings, and they just want to attain that number, right? So I want to understand from you, just to push this a bit further. I think when you set your goals, it's not just about numbers. What you do with those numbers also really matter. So, what would be your advice to new content creators who are just starting off and they're just running behind these vanity numbers? What would be your advice to them?
Yeah, I mean, what a lovely question again, Anurag. And my belief here is that let's not forget that a lot of these people who have these numbers have put in the work. Okay, they have the head start. They've been doing this for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. They've also been extremely frequent in terms
Yep.
of the way they've been posting and the stuff that they've been putting out, and they've built up a following over time. Interestingly, like let's just take Clubhouse as an example. And Clubhouse was one platform, which I came a little late to the party. I think it was almost, towards the start of 21 is when I came to Clubhouse. And by that time, I already saw people, who had followings in the tens of thousands, if not the hundreds of thousands, maybe some even heading towards, a million. But I just realized that I need to come onto Clubhouse and I just need to go out there and give quality content. So I don't have like 100,000 followers, maybe have like 4,000, 4,500. But the point is, those people are committed, to coming on to when I'm speaking. They are basically people who are interacting, they're contributing towards the conversation as well. So hence, my belief always has been is that it's not only a vanity metrics. Okay, it shouldn't only be about the number, but it's also about how much the people are engaging with you. I mean, there's been this entire thing about, entire economies have popped up or ecosystems have popped up. People say, oh, we can get you X number of followers on Instagram and we can do X, Y, Z for you on, LinkedIn or Facebook and all of that. And even on Twitch, right? I mean, again, another big creator platform, even on Twitch, people say, hey, we can get you so much, following. But are they really engaging? Is that even real? True. Does it do anything for you? I mean, you can have 1 million followers on or a million people connected with you on Instagram, and then you have, when you're putting out a post, you have like 17 interactions. Now, obviously, something's really wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I think, I believe in this, and let's just take it from a business perspective as well, right? Now, in business, we've always been told, okay, top line is vanity.
Yep.
Bottom line is sanity, and cash is king. So I think the same applies even when it comes, to social media and when it comes to content creator platforms. I mean, yes, you can have a really big number. It'll get you attention. It'll make you feel good, boss. Mere paas itne followers hai. I am now an influencer, so to speak.
Yep.
But, okay, what is it doing for you in both aspects? And of course, later on, we'll be talking about the monetization as well. But what's it doing for you in terms of interaction? What's it doing for people who are pushing you forward? And what's it doing for monetization? So I think these are, things that can be linked directly. And don't, ever be intimidated by someone who has the numbers and all of that. Just know that they have done great work. Maybe it's good for you to also follow their path, follow their journey. Like I said, if you have to climb Mount Everest, you don't want to do it a way which has never been done before. If someone has climbed Mount Everest and someone has already laid out that rope for you, what you want to do is hold that rope and follow them. If there is someone that you look up to in your space and you think that they have done a good job and you could perhaps do the same, okay, maybe it'll take longer, but at least you have a Sherpa, you have a guide, you have someone whose path you can actually follow. So you're not cutting out your own path from the snow. So that would just be my thought.
No, absolutely. And I think, you summarized the whole golden circle by Simon very clearly, that if you want those numbers, then what's your why? And then, how you go about it and then what you do with it. So, guys, if you want to check that TED Talk out, I'll definitely put the links in the show notes below. And Gaurav, you just spoke about having a mentor, having a Sherpa. How important is the role of a mentor for a content creator in 2022?
Oh, like the most important thing. I mean, you have your goals, you have your why. But up there, amongst all those things, is to have someone who will be there to mentor you, someone who you can reach out for advice, someone where on the days when things aren't going right, you actually have, a coach slash, mentor or Sherpa, you can actually go and have a conversation with. I currently actually have 4 coaches, who are actually training, with or training me at the moment. And these are some great minds in the world. And, of course, we pay top dollar for that. But the reason for that is that if you want to be the best in your business, okay, you also have to reach out to people, who will, bring that out in you. And I love examples from, in fact, one of my first coaches was a gentleman called Murti Dharkaja. He's not a coach anymore, but he used to work for a company called Action Coach.
Okay.
And, I think the thing that really drew me to him right in the beginning, I thought I was doing good in business. I thought I was just, on the right track and everything else. And he would come out with an example of, and I think that time Dhoni was just having a big breakout, as well in his career. And he would just talk about, Dhoni and Dhoni's coaches. And he said, does Dhoni need a coach? And then it was, of course he does, because the coach is the person who's going to bring out the best, in you.
Right.
And I think one day that just clicked, and I had a conversation, and now we're going back maybe 10, 12 years. And that's where, my mind really started opening to the power of, coaching and mentoring. And I just haven't
Yep.
looked back since. And today, like I said, I have some of the best, in the world, coaches in Australia, coaches in Miami, coaches in Stanford University, as well as in Canada. So big and, good people, but so important.
True. I think having a coach or having somebody who can make you accountable for your actions. I think that is also really important because, like, I can give my own example. When I started with my entrepreneurial journey, there were a lot of things that I planned out. I did my own goal settings. I made my own goal posts. But what used to happen was whenever I would not be able to hit the goal, I'll just move the goal post in order to hit the goal. You know, so I'll manipulate my own decision making. I'll procrastinate. I'll change my plans. I'll push my dates. I'll push my deadlines, and that is where I think accountability plays a huge part. With that, the coaches, the Sherpas, definitely helps. But I think what also helps is the community, right? The collaborations that you do within your circle. If you don't have a mentor, at least be a part of a close group, a circle, a community of content creators that can help each other in order to attain those goals. So we are talking about smart goals, and here I think accountability also plays a huge part.
Oh, 100%. And you hit the nail on the head that, yes, because your thing is, with your coach or your Sherpa, they won't always have that kind of time, for you. But if nothing else, even if you have an accountability partner, someone who you can, just catch up with when you're having that down day, or someone who can, just buzz you in the morning saying, boss, okay, today is the day to go out there and crush it, right? Today is the big day, and, all of that. So, obviously being in a community is great. And I think, again, that's another place where my mind really opened up to, the entire the community piece. And one was, of course, this networking forum that I became a part of again 10 years ago. I think that really, blew my mind and really opened up, the possibilities that were really there. And again, we had, smaller teams which were kind of, pushing for each other, which were like going out there and referring each other, which were, going out there and make the magic happen. I mean, sometimes they would pitch our businesses, more passionately than their own. And you would wonder that, wow, this is the power of community.
Yeah.
So yes,
Absolutely.
coach is one. Accountability partner is the minimum. Matlab minimum. Again, if you can't get into a community right now, I mean, at least that one person or those, two people, that group that you have your WhatsApp group with or that calling group with, where, you will always get together and push each other. And of course, if you can be part of a larger forum where, the world today is moving away from competition towards collaboration. I think we have to realize that. Even when I came to the space of, coaching and training, I reached out to as many coaches and trainers, and speakers as I possibly could. And I said, let's collaborate, let's work, together. And they're like, oh, but how can you do that? This is, we are competitors. And I'm like, boss, kitne client hai aapke? And they would say 5 and 10. I'm like, the world today has 1 billion people that need to be touched. और आप अगर 5 और 10 में खुश हो तो बस फिर तो हो गया काम, right? And then I'm so grateful for all the people who came into our ecosystem, who said that, hey, you know what, let's collaborate, let's do stuff together. I mean, people like Avi Arya, who your community would know really, really well, right? So Avi and Viraj Kalra and myself, we all got together and we did this event called LSD, where it was at the Radisson in Delhi pre-pandemic, and it was leadership, sales, and digital. So we had 3 people who came together. Who we didn't really know too much about each other, but when we came and delivered in those 2 days, everyone came and said, "Yeah, tum teen bhai ho," But we just went all in, and we just believed that we need to support each other. And that's how the magic happened. So I think go out there and have those conversations. I think that's one big piece of advice I'd like to give, to even all your listeners and the people in the content creator community. Don't think that, people will not want to collaborate with me because A, I'm too small or they're too big, or, this is about, cannibalizing each other's, clients. Everyone brings a particular strength to the table. Right. And the point is, your strength may be another's, not a weakness, but maybe something that is not there, is their, proficiency. And collaboratively and together, you may be able to deliver something to a client or to a bunch of clients, which individually you can't, and have those conversations. So that's another thought on that.
Absolutely. I think synergy is the name of the game in 2020 beyond. There has to be collaborations. And of course, competitiveness and rivalry will always be there in industries. But at the end of the day, like you said, there are, 7.7 billion people in the in the world right now. And if you want to touch all of them, you can't do it alone. There has to be synergies, there has to be collaborations, and that is where the whole creators economy is really growing. And especially in India also, now I see, especially when I look at Twitter, I look at LinkedIn, I see a lot of creators coming together. They're collaborating in different events, they are doing some different kind of the boot camps. They are helping other creators also to join in and be a part of a bigger community. So thanks, Gaurav, for that. And this gives us a good segue to get into a bit more deep on the smart goals that we just touched base on. So Gaurav, let's get into the action, and let's talk about a few step by step approach that content creators really need to take in order to make sure that their smart goals are set for 2022.
Right, perfect, Anurag. And I think what is very, very important is that when your goals are set, it can't only be about your work goal, right? So goal setting actually should be done in 6 areas. Now, one is, of course, your work in terms of, okay, and the work would be the maybe the following you want to reach, or the turnover you want to achieve, or the revenue you want to come in, etc. So work is one aspect, but there are 5 other equally important aspects, that are very, very integral to goal setting as well. The second one is finance goals, right? And the finance goal is, once you start, creating some money, once you start bringing some money in, where are you going to put some of that surplus money for it to actually grow? Okay. And I don't say, a contingency fund or a rainy day fund, because if you save for a contingency, what you'll get is a contingency. Yep. Instead, call it your opportunities fund and say, okay, this is my opportunities fund. So when an opportunity arises, and it could be something which could be locally, nationally, internationally, who knows, I'll have some money to make the most of that particular opportunity. So finance, right. So you've had your work goal first, you have your finance goal, which is second. The third aspect is a lifestyle goal. And the lifestyle goal could be about something that you want to buy, or some place you want to travel, or, anything like that, anything that you want to really indulge in. So your indulgence is very, very important to also have a lifestyle goal that, okay, maybe in mid 2022, I'm going to go to the hills in the summer, or Goa in the winter, so whatever it is, you must have a lifestyle goal.
Yep.
Number 4 is a health goal. Right, it's extremely important as content creators for us to give, the maximum energy to our, to our clients, to put in the maximum amount of work. It's very, very important to be healthy, right? And hence, this will mean, the right balance of diet, food, which is and liquids, and also exercise and sleep. Okay, I think one thing to my content creator friends: please don't compromise on your sleep. I find a lot of people, who say, hey, we're down to sleeping only 3 hours, 4 hours a day, because, there's stuff to first be seeing, and there's, stuff to be doing. A lot of content creators I know love working during the night. Frankly, myself, I'm more of a morning person, but I do know a lot of people who love working through the night, and then their sleep is severely being hampered, and it's leading to bad health and a whole bunch of issues. So health is very, very important as well.
Yep.
The fifth aspect would actually be mental. And by mental, I mean things that you want to learn, because as content creators, we always have to keep getting better. Right. So we keep having to, read, learn, listen to stuff, watch videos, do more courses. And also a part of mental is the spiritual side of things, where you said, okay, I've learned and now I want to teach back. I've learned and I want to give back. Also, in terms of there's something that you have towards, religion or spirituality, all of that comes in mental as well. And the last one, the sixth piece of, the entire puzzle is actually family and relationships. What are your relationships with your family members? What are your relationships with, your colleagues, with your clients, with your, seniors, juniors, all of that, family members. So all of that comes together. So actually, when we do goal setting, we should look at all 6 areas. So family, going back, mental, health, lifestyle, finance, and work. So all 6 areas, need focus, because if you're only focusing on the work aspect, then there's a very good chance that something else is going to suffer really badly and it's going to pull you down.
Absolutely.
So that was one insight as far as the 6 areas go. There are 2 more things I'd like to share on the piece of goals as well. The second piece I want to share about is the duration of the goals.
Okay.
Right? Like, what do you think should be the duration of goals? Normally when goals are set, what do you think broadly should be the duration of goals?
I think for me, the way I do it for my business is I have my weekly goals, and then I have my monthly goals. So I set them according to that. So there are smaller goalposts that I target, and then there are bigger, aspirations that I have. So that is how I set up. I would love to know from you.
Yeah. I mean, that's great, that you have the weekly, actions that you want to set, towards a longer goal. And that's really how it should be.
Hmm.
So what we do in the Scaling with GB goal system is that we actually have four durations.
Okay.
The first one is short-term goals, and the short-term goals are 3-month goals, because the
Hmm.
3-month goal is a good goal. Is a good time frame to basically put something down and then start moving towards it. So you have your short-term goals, then you have your medium-term goals. Medium-term goals in our system is actually a 1-year goal. You have the
Okay.
long-term goals, which is 5 years, and then you have the legacy goals, which are the 10-year and beyond.
Hmm.
So that's how it's really been conceptualized. And of course, every goal needs an action that's going to get you towards it. So each of those goals is actually then broken down, into weekly actions that you will have to take. Like today, you and I getting together on a call and having this conversation is
Hmm.
perhaps something that you had as a weekly action, which will take you
Yep.
towards, your monthly goal, for example. So,
Yes.
that's how it's created. And like I said, it's a super, super simple system, something that I've been through, as I mentioned, countless number of,
Hmm.
courses and planners and everything myself as well. And today, the Scaling with GB goal setting system has been taught to over 1,000, organizations, the 1,000 people. The planners themselves have now gone in for their third reprint. So we've already
Hmm.
sold, close to 3,500, pieces of the planners as well. At large corporates in India, they're actually given out by leadership teams to their teams, saying that,
Okay.
okay, this is something that you should be using, and this has to be your compass and your Bible. It's a 52-week planner, and it's
Hmm.
almost 400 odd pages. And the point is that every week on a Sunday is when I sit down. A lot of my core community sits down with their planners on a Sunday evening, and we plan the week ahead, and we write our goals down every week, and we review them every day. Because the thing with goals is that there will be contingencies, there will be
Yep. Yep.
headwinds, there will be things that are going to come in and push you, right? It's like taking off from Delhi to Bombay in a
Hmm.
in a plane. If the pilot wasn't there and the captain wasn't there to going on course correcting, I mean, you take off from Delhi, you're not going to end up in Bombay. There's a good chance you'll end up in the Arabian Sea,
Yep.
right? So just like that, the planners and the goal setting system is actually your compass, and it always brings you, back on track. So that's something that's very, very important.
Absolutely, yes. I think a lot of people they fear the whole idea of goal settings. They feel that it's a very tedious task. They feel it's very difficult. But like you said, it's a very simple set of rules, set of actions that you need to take throughout your week or maybe month. And like you said, you have a 5-year and a 10-year planner as well. And of course, people may think that, oh, how can I set my 10-year goal right now? But I think the whole idea is that your 10-year goal right now may look something else, and maybe in your progression in life, maybe 3 years down the line, that goal post may change. So it's actually a continual evaluation also of your goal setting, isn't it?
Very true, very true. And you're right, things will change. I mean, sometimes, even your 1-year goal or even a 3-month goal, something might change. I mean, I remember there was this one point where I was, really getting sucked in by the stock market. And
Hmm.
then I realized that, my goal was actually, sucking me in and taking a little bit of my time out. And I decided that there was no time right now to be doing, derivatives trading and all of that. And I just decided to one day shut my account. And hence, my 1-year goal, which was related with a particular, number on the derivative side, it just changed. And then that became, okay, build a portfolio of investable stocks rather than getting into the entire trading piece and getting sucked into that, and spoiling your mind space,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
to speak. So goals will change. And you're right. And how we've actually gone about it is that on the legacy goal, which is the 10-year goal, we only
Hmm.
choose two things. So out of the 6 areas that you have, of the 6 areas that we discussed, like a legacy goal for me, for example, is one is to, create as the Gaurav Bhagat Academy to be one of Asia's, most sought after companies in the space of training, speaking, coaching, and mentoring.
Hmm.
So that becomes like a legacy goal where you say, okay, that's really what I'm going to be heading towards. I mean, for my
Hmm.
gifting
Hmm.
company, which is another company that I run, we say that we want to be in 7 countries, we want to have 13 offices, and we want to have 1,000 people. It's a
Hmm.
legacy goal. It's a 10-year goal, but it kind of pushes you towards making that happen as well.
Yep, yep. It trickles down. I think when you have such goal in front of you that you want to be in so many countries, have such a big team, then you want to become Asia's largest. So all these, I think, these are key points. These are keywords in your own company's SEO. Which makes
Very
you
true.
come onto the first page of
Yeah,
bring your A game in the business. So wonderful,
100%.
Gaurav. Thank you for discussing all of that. Now, before we wrap up today's episode, Gaurav, I think I wanted to touch base on a few do's and don'ts for
Mm-hmm.
content creators. I think
Mm-hmm.
till now we have discussed, how we can go about setting our goals, what should be the way you should approach your goals. But I think it's also important to talk about some of the do's and don'ts that creators
Yeah.
should really look out for.
Yeah. Super. I love that as well. So let's take a look at some of the do's, and this is something I've been telling, corporate India, and of course, a lot of my creator friends and fellow trainers and coaches, and fellow content creators as well, is that like we have the superheroes, and the superheroes, like Superman and Batman and Doctor Strange. They have their capes, the
Yep.
cape that they have as part of their outfit. And I said the CAPES. Okay, those 5 letters, that acronym that's there, is going to be very, very important as well. The C basically stands for consistency. Okay, you have to stay consistent. When you're creating content, when you're doing your outreach, when you're going out and prospecting, when you're going out and meeting clients, in your follow-up, whatever you intend to be doing, consistency is something that's very, very important. You have to stay consistent. It can't be like you come out on the final over of a one-day match and you hit your chokkas and chakkas, and then you just, crash for the next,
Yeah.
few weeks or months saying, "Bahut ho gaya." So consistency is going to be very, very important. The second thing that's going to be very, very important, the second thing that's going to be extremely important, in the entire space is adaptability. We have to understand, that there can be headwinds. There can be things that are going to happen, like what happened in this case of, the second wave of the pandemic, and now with Omicron. I mean, shit can happen, right? We have to just be careful about that. So stay adaptable. Okay, just know that agar kuch hoga, I will be ready to bounce back or make those changes. Be adaptable. So adaptability is going to be very, very important. P is okay, and P can be persistence, but P can also be patience. Okay, and I think for my creator friends, I think patience is more important. That be patient. Okay, don't say that "Arey yaar, likes to बढ़ नहीं रहे, following to aa nahi rahi, काम to aa nahi raha." So I think patience is something that's very, very important, right? You have to know that a lot of these people have put in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I mean, to be a Grant Cardone who put in like 30 years of work in 2 years is unreasonable, right?
Yeah.
So patience is something that's very, very important. The E stands for execution. You always have to be executing. You always have to be implementing. Like, people should be listening to this podcast and just think, "ठीक है, boss, Anurag, ab batao kya karna hai?" Right? So they should, after listening to the podcast, be ready to go out and execute something, and they should be able to implement that in their lives as well. Even if it's about, goal setting or getting the goal planner from Flipkart or whatever it is, right? There should be something that they will execute on. And the fifth one, which you touched on, the power of community, is S, okay, which is success mindset. Surround yourself with successful people. Okay, surround yourself with people who will give you positive, inputs, and people who will be looking out for your goodwill, who will be kind of pushing you towards success. So that success mindset is very, very important. Don't instead be with, people who are negative or getting negative inputs, which kind of pulls you down. So CAPES, I think that would be my top do's, okay, for everyone. Okay, I think that's something that really comes to mind. If we go to the don'ts, okay, and here I think one thing that really comes to my mind, especially as fellow content creators, since you and I, is that sometimes we fall prey to what is the BSO syndrome. Okay, and the BSO is the bright shiny object, right? That someone says, "Arey boss, wo nai cheez aayi hai, kamal ki hai, you must try out this," and hence you got a new software or a new platform or a new methodology, and then what is you've invested a lot of time, invested a lot of money, and you're not getting the same result. So I think if something's already working for you, stick to it. Okay, keep your eyes and ears open for what is happening, but don't jump into something just because it worked for somebody else. Right? So I think BSO syndrome is something that's very, very important that people should actually be avoiding. Also, I think, some of the don'ts are on the lines of, just don't give up. I think persistence is very, very important. Don't throw in the towel too early. Just know that any piece of content, that you're creating, anything that you're doing, it is inspiring someone. Okay, every day or every week or every month, someone is looking at what you've created and is saying, okay, like, wow. And I'm talking about in the space of, graphics, in the space of, video, in the space of, podcasts, so in all these areas, you have touched someone's life. Okay, just know that you have to stay the pace. So don't throw in the towel. Okay, don't say that mera to kuch nahi ho raha. Because I love that story of the Chinese bamboo, right? How they say, for years, you keep watering it and it keeps getting, all its nutrients and everything else. Nothing's happening. And you're saying, damn, nothing's working out. And then one day, like maybe 7-8 years down the line, it just explodes and everyone's like, oh my God, where did this come from? So I think truly, that's the advice that I have to everyone in the space as well. that don't throw in the towel, don't fall in for the BSO syndrome. Keep your eyes and ears open, but stay the path. Stay the path.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more because with us also, with Socially Desi and Namaste India, the both podcasts that I run, for the first 100 episodes, you won't believe we had less than 5,000 people listening to us. And for the first 100 episodes. And this actually made us think, yeah, whatever we are doing, is it really worth it? But we kept going, and today, we have crossed that 1 million mark, and we are happy now because we now know we get the feedback from the audience, right? Like you said, somebody on the other side is watching you, listening to you, and they are enjoying your content. And when you get that feedback, somewhere down the line, like the bamboo, somewhere down the line you will get that feedback, you will get that returns on your investment. So I think this is what creators really need to focus on. This is a big do, and also, don't quit. That's the big don't. With that, thank you so much, Gaurav. It has been a pleasure being with you on the show, and having discussed so many important things. I think all of the points that we have discussed, there are so many action points that the audience can take away from today. And guys, if you want to get in touch with Gaurav, we will put his LinkedIn a link in the show notes below, as well as the Gaurav Bhagat Academy website links in the show notes below. If you have any questions for Gaurav, feel free to reach out to him, or if you want to ask any questions through us, feel free to reach out to us, and we will get you in touch with Gaurav. Gaurav, with that, thank you so much for being on the Socially Desi Show.
Thank you, Anurag. It was, like I said, an absolute pleasure. And time's flown. My God, it didn't even seem like it's almost been close to an hour, and we could have gone on forever. And yeah, looking forward, to staying connected. Looking forward to hearing from your community. Remember, I'm only a message or a phone call away. And we're here to help. We're here to support. We have a big number, 409-000000. It's a big number. And truly, by platforms such as yours, Anurag, that's how we reach out to more and more people. And I appreciate the opportunity. And I wish you all the best. And may that million become 10 million and more. And truly, with the amazing quality of content that you're creating, and I've seen many, many podcasters truly up there amongst the best. And I have no doubt that you'll continue to do amazing things for your community. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, Gaurav. And I know that you have started your own podcast as well. So before we end, let's do after party of the show, and tell me a bit about your podcast.
Yeah, thank you. So it is called the Smashed, Bashed, Yet Not Dashed podcast. It's actually a precursor to my book, which comes out in February of 2022 as well. So it's only going to be a couple of months away. And truly, it's about persistence, perseverance, and all of that. So the first season, which I completed, was a lot of stories from my life. So a lot of people will get a lot of things from there, and certain instances that happened. And of course, season 2, we've had some great people, people like Nikhil Kamath, Grant Cardone, Bani J, so a whole bunch, Siddharth Rajshekar, good people who've come on that podcast as well. So do check it out. I know we've taken a bit of a breather as we head into season 3, but some great guests, and everyone talking about patience, persistence, perseverance, and being smashed and being bashed, but not throwing in the towel. So smashed, bashed, yet not dashed. Do give that a look as well.
Wonderful, guys. So if you have been listening to us for the past 40 minutes, this is a bonus point for you. Go check out his podcast. We'll put in the links in the show notes below as well. Thank you, Gaurav.
Thanks so much, Anurag. Appreciate it.
So that wraps it up for today, folks. If you liked the episode, give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and let's go viral. Remember, our weekly podcast features episodes on personal growth, mental health, relationships, business and entrepreneurship, and health and fitness. We would love to have Gaurav on the show again in the future to talk more about entrepreneurship and how you can bring your A game for the business. So if you haven't yet done so, hit that subscribe button and go check out our website at sociallydesi.com. And as always, before I sign off, remember, life is black and white and everything in between.